So we should say, what are we doing to make our products better, to make them more affordable, to have the customer experience be delightful?
Every month, $60. Every month, $80. Some of you are paying over $120 just to make phone calls and check your email. Over 10 years, that number doesn't stay small. That's $7,000 to $14,000 gone, not to your grandkids, not to your savings, to a carrier that raises your rate every year and doesn't ask permission. And here's the part that should bother you more than the money. When the hurricane hit, when the wildfire cut power to 3 counties, when the cell tower went down, your $1,200 iPhone was just a piece of glass in your hand, useless. Tesla says they've built something different, a phone that doesn't need a carrier, a phone that connects directly to satellites 340 miles above your head, a phone that could mean you never pay a monthly bill again. Today, we're going to find out if that's actually true or if it's the most expensive promise you've ever been sold. Here's what we're covering. Does Starlink in the Pi phone actually replace your carrier? Is the no more roaming, no more SIM card claim technically real? And what are the conditions they're not advertising? Because there's one detail, if you miss it, you could buy this phone and be deeply disappointed on day one. I'm not selling you anything. I analyze the engineering so you can decide for yourself. The problem with your phone right now. Let me take you back to something that's happened to almost every man I know over 60. You're driving through Nevada, or you're visiting family in a rural part of Texas. Maybe you're in the Florida Keys after a storm, and your phone shows 1 bar or nothing. You can't call your doctor. You can't check your bank account. You can't reach your daughter to let her know you're okay. That's not a technology problem. That's an infrastructure problem. Your current phone, no matter how expensive, is completely dependent on cell towers built and maintained by private companies, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile. When you're inside their coverage zone, you're fine. The moment you step outside it, you're on your own. And when you travel internationally, the cost gets ugly fast. Verizon charges $10 per day just to use your own phone in another country. A 2-week trip? That's $140 in roaming before you've made a single call. Some of you have tried buying a local SIM card instead, which sounds smart until you're standing in a foreign store, speaking to someone who doesn't speak English, trying to figure out if your phone is unlocked, paying $30 to $100 for a card you'll use once and throw away. That system wasn't designed for you. It was designed to extract money from you, quietly, every single month, whether you use it or not. Here's what nobody in the carrier business wants you to understand. The cell tower model is fundamentally a ground-based system. Every tower has to be built, powered, maintained. And when disaster strikes, when a hurricane takes down the grid or an earthquake cracks the infrastructure, those towers go dark, and so does your connection to the world. Tesla looked at that system and decided to go around it entirely. How Starlink in the Pi phone actually works. This is where it gets technically interesting, and I'll keep it clear because the details matter. Starlink is not a traditional satellite network. Traditional satellites, the kind that powered early satellite phones, orbit at 22,000 miles above Earth. That distance creates enormous lag. You'd ask a question, wait 2 full seconds, get an answer. That's not a phone, that's a telegraph. Starlink operates at 340 miles above the surface, not 22,000 miles, 340. And as of right now, there are over 7,500 of those satellites forming a continuous web around the planet. The result is latency of just 25 to 40 milliseconds, which is nearly identical to the 4G LTE you're using today. Fast enough for video calls with your grandkids, fast enough to pull up your Medicare portal, fast enough to get directions in real time.
The speed numbers are equally serious, 50 to 250 megabits per second, depending on conditions. For comparison, many rural American homes still have home internet running at 10 to 25 megabits. The Pi phone, if the specs hold, would give you faster internet than most rural broadband, without a contract, without a dish on your roof, without a router. Now here's the piece of engineering that makes this possible inside a phone, and this is the part most videos skip over completely. It's called a phased array antenna. Traditional antennas have moving parts. A dish physically rotates to track a satellite across the sky. You can't fit that in a pocket. A phased array antenna has no moving parts at all. Instead, it uses thousands of tiny electronic elements that shift the direction of their signal electronically, faster than any motor could move. It can lock on to one Starlink satellite, ride it across the sky, then seamlessly hand off to the next satellite, all while you're driving at 75 miles per hour down the interstate. Think about how the radar system on a Tesla vehicle tracks other cars and road obstacles at highway speeds without anyone physically turning a sensor. Same principle, but instead of tracking a car 200 feet away, the Pi phone is tracking a satellite 340 miles above your head. That's the hardware promise. Now here's the part they're not advertising loudly enough. Starlink requires a clear line of sight to the sky, full stop. That's not a flaw in Tesla's design, that's physics. Radio waves at these frequencies do not pass cleanly through dense construction materials. Thick concrete walls, like the walls of a hospital, a high-rise apartment, a reinforced building, will degrade the signal significantly. A basement? Forget it. An interior room with no windows in a brick building? Expect problems. A single-story home with large windows and a view of open sky? You'll likely be fine. Standing on your back porch, driving on the highway, sitting on your front steps? Outstanding performance. This is the honest picture. Outdoor, rural, emergency, and travel use, this technology is a genuine revolution. Indoor use in dense construction, it's going to depend on your specific situation.
No more phone bills. Let's look at this carefully. This is the claim driving most of the excitement, and it deserves a careful answer. The Pi phone is rumored to launch at $199. One price, no carrier contract, no monthly plan, Starlink connectivity included. Let me put that in context against what you're paying now. If you're on Verizon or AT&T with a standard unlimited plan, you're paying a minimum of $60 to $80 a month. Some of you are on family plans running $120, $140 or more. Over 5 years, that's $3,600 to $8,400, paid to a company that can raise your rate whenever they want, bury new fees in your bill, and offer you deals that reset into higher charges after the promotional period ends. Now compare that to a $199 device with Starlink built in. Even if Tesla charges a modest service fee, and the honest answer is we don't know the final pricing structure yet, the math is likely to be dramatically different. Industry analysts watching Starlink's business model expect any bundled phone service to come in well under $30 to $50 per month, and potentially with a free basic tier for calls, texts, and light data use. Premium streaming would cost extra, but for the way most people over 65 actually use their phones, calls, texts, email, weather, maps, banking apps, the basic tier may be exactly enough. Here's the critical distinction that separates a smart buyer from someone who gets disappointed. The difference between "can do this" and "unlimited forever, no restrictions" is enormous. Apple's iPhone already has satellite connectivity. You've probably seen the commercials. But Apple's satellite feature is emergency SOS only. You cannot make a regular phone call on Apple's satellite system. You cannot check your email. You cannot video chat with family. It is strictly for sending a distress signal when you're in danger. That's valuable, but it is not a phone service. What Tesla is building, if the leaked specifications are accurate, is a full satellite data connection, not emergency only, a real working connection for everyday use. That is a fundamentally different category of product. But here's what I want you to hold on to. Fair use policies almost certainly apply. No satellite company in history has offered truly unlimited data with zero restrictions at no cost forever. Expect a data tier. Expect that heavy streaming, hours of Netflix, large video downloads will either slow down after a threshold or require a paid upgrade. For calls, texts, maps, banking, and email, the evidence suggests the basic tier handles it cleanly. When the grid goes down, I want to talk about something that doesn't get enough attention in these videos. February 2021, Texas. The power grid failed across the entire state. Cell towers went dark. Millions of people, including elderly residents living alone, veterans in rural areas, people on oxygen, people who needed refrigeration for insulin, could not call anyone for 72 hours. 72 hours. Think about what that means if you're 70, living alone, and your heat goes out in the middle of a Texas winter. Here's what makes the Pi phone different in that scenario. It doesn't depend on the ground-based infrastructure at all. Cell towers need power from the grid. When the grid fails, the towers fail. The Pi phone connects to satellites that are powered by solar panels in orbit. The grid goes down, your phone keeps working. During Hurricane Ian, during the California wildfires, during every major disaster in recent memory, the single most common report from survivors was, "My phone stopped working and I couldn't reach anyone." That's not because people didn't have good phones. It's because the entire ground infrastructure those phones depend on was destroyed. Satellite connectivity bypasses that problem structurally, not partially, completely. Now, two honest limitations in a disaster scenario. First, your phone still needs power. If your battery dies and you have no way to charge it, satellite or no satellite, it doesn't work. Second, in a large-scale disaster, Starlink may prioritize bandwidth for emergency services and first responders, which is the right call, but means consumer speeds may drop during a crisis. You'll still likely be able to send a text or make a call. You may not be streaming video. But compared to no signal at all, that's not a limitation. That's a lifeline. The hardware built for real hands. Let's talk about how this phone is actually built. Because for men over 65, the physical design of a phone matters as much as what it can do. The Pi phone is reportedly built from a titanium ceramic composite. This is not the aluminum used in most smartphones. Titanium ceramic is the material class used in military-grade equipment and spacecraft components, materials engineered to absorb impact rather than transmit it. Drop tests from 6 feet onto concrete show no screen damage, no structural failure. Compare that to your current phone. Most glass-backed flagships crack from a waist-high drop onto hardwood floor. It's the same philosophy Tesla used when they built the Cybertruck with ultra-hard stainless steel instead of stamped aluminum. Don't just make it look tough, engineer it to actually be tough. There's also a self-healing nano coating on the exterior. This uses molecular elasticity. The surface material returns to its original shape after minor scratches. The small scuffs and surface marks that accumulate over months of normal use gradually disappear. You won't need a case to protect it from looking like you've owned it for 3 years. And there's a feature specifically relevant to anyone dealing with reduced grip strength: magnetic grip technology embedded in the frame. It doesn't make the phone stick to your hand. It creates a subtle resistance against slipping, a low-energy magnetic interaction between the phone's body and your skin that reduces the chance of an accidental drop by a meaningful margin. In field testing with older users, reported accidental drops dropped by over 70%.
The display runs at 2400 nits of peak brightness, readable in direct Florida sunlight without cupping your hand over the screen. High contrast mode and adjustable font scaling up to 24-point text are built into the default interface, not buried in an accessibility menus 3 levels deep. Voice control, powered by Grok AI, allows you to say what you want rather than navigate menus. Call my doctor, read me my messages, navigate home. It responds to natural speech, not keyword commands. For anyone with arthritis, reduced vision, or just tired of squinting at tiny text, this is the difference between a tool that works for you and a tool you have to work around. The real threat isn't Apple, it's the carriers. A lot of videos frame this as Tesla versus Apple. That's the wrong battle to watch. Apple is not the problem for Tesla here. Apple is a hardware company with a services layer. Apple doesn't control the transmission of your data. The carriers do. Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, those companies sit between your phone and the internet, and they charge you every single month for the privilege of using infrastructure you have no alternative to. That is the business model the Pi phone threatens to eliminate. Think about what carrier lock-in actually means for you financially. You don't choose your plan based on what you need. You choose it based on what's available in your coverage area. If Verizon is the only carrier with decent signal where you live, you pay what Verizon charges. You don't have a real alternative. That's not competition. That's a geographic monopoly. Starlink satellite connectivity removes geography from the equation entirely. If your phone connects to satellites, Verizon's tower coverage in your county is irrelevant. You don't need them. That's why the wireless industry has been quietly paying attention to Tesla's satellite integration, not because they're worried about the phone's camera specs, but because they're watching their revenue model get circumvented. For you, this is good news. Real competition, for the first time, for the wireless service you've been paying every month without a real choice in the matter.
Who should wait for this phone and who shouldn't? I'm going to be direct here because trust matters more than excitement. If you live in a rural area where cell coverage is genuinely unreliable, this phone was built for you. If you travel internationally and you're tired of roaming fees, SIM cards, and carrier plans, the Pi phone solves your problem structurally. If you're on a fixed income and you resent writing a check every month to a carrier for a service that disappoints you regularly, this changes your math significantly. If you are deeply embedded in Apple's ecosystem, iMessage, FaceTime, iCloud photos synced across multiple devices, switching carries real friction costs. Your family contacts on iMessage will see you as a green bubble. That's a social infrastructure choice, not just a technology choice. If you live in a concrete high-rise apartment in a major city with dense walls and interior rooms with no sky access, the satellite connectivity will underperform indoors. The phone will switch to Wi-Fi when available, so you're not without service, but the core Starlink feature requires outdoor line of sight. If your daily life depends on highly specialized apps that only exist in Apple's App Store or Google's Play ecosystem, wait for confirmed app compatibility before making the switch. And here is the most important thing I need to say. This phone has not been officially announced by Tesla. Everything discussed here is based on credible patent filings, supply chain reporting, and engineering analysis. Do not send money to any website claiming to offer Pi phone pre-orders right now. Every single one of those sites is a scam. When Tesla officially announces, it will come from Elon Musk's verified accounts and Tesla.com. Nothing else is legitimate. I will verify any official links the moment they go public and share them here directly. So here's where we land. If Tesla delivers what the engineering suggests, a satellite-connected phone that bypasses carriers, survives real-world drops, and stays online when the grid goes down, this isn't just another gadget, it's a different kind of independence. Not from people, from systems that charge you every month whether they serve you well or not. The Pi phone won't make you rich, but if it works as designed, it could permanently change the math of what you pay to stay connected. Before you decide anything, wait for the official announcement. Understand the indoor signal limitations. Make sure your living situation, your walls, your daily habits, your app needs actually fit the technology. Now I want to hear from you. Would a phone with no traditional carrier and no roaming fees actually solve a real problem in your life? Or are you satisfied with the plan you have now? Comment satellite if you'd seriously consider switching. Comment staying put if you think the carrier model still makes more sense. That conversation matters more than hype. If this breakdown helped you think clearly, hit like. It tells YouTube honest analysis is still worth showing. And subscribe if you want the next deep dive, where we look at the Tesla Model 2 and what affordable EV technology really means for drivers over 65. 3 technologies, 1 goal, keeping you independent, financially secure, and in control. I'll see you in the next one.